So, good morning, everyone. Thank you for deciding to be with us for the beginning of this day. I hope you are having a wonderful day. It's very sunny and warm in Cluj, in Romania, where I am. My name is Rarița Zbranca. I'm a project director, a program director at the Cluj Cultural Center in Romania. And my organization is the leading partner of the project CARE, Culture for Mental Health, which is EU-wide initiative that is focusing on how culture and arts participation contribute to increasing the quality of life, the health and well-being of people and communities. And part of our initiative, we are inviting you today in 1 hour and a half conversation and exploration of the benefits, the potential benefits of engaging arts in workplaces and around work relations and work experiences to improve well-being of people working in all sort of work environments. I'm together with our distinguished guests and speakers for the day. And just as a brief overview of what we are going to be doing today. Um, yes, we are going to have just a brief introduction from myself about the project, about the CARE project. We have as main contribution for keynotes from experts and practitioners working already with arts in in work environments. Then we are going to go into breakout groups for having some conversations that engage each and every one of us, and then we will have some conclusions. Now, I will carry on by saying a few words about the CARE initiative. This is a project that has started in 2024 and will go on over the next 3 years. Its focus is on like starting from this understanding that there is a growing movement and a growing activity around arts and health across Europe and in the world. We notice that there's a presence of a lot of atomized initiatives, small scale initiatives, and understand the need for cohesion, sustainability, and larger scale in this type of work. So our project is looking on how we can work together across sectors to scale up initiative in arts and health. The consortium is formed by 7 cultural organizations and European networks. They are the Cluj Cultural Center in Romania, the networks Culture Action Europe, European Festivals Association, Northern Dimension Partnership on Culture, and also national organizations, Arts for Health Austria, Društvo Asociacija in Slovenia, and the Center for Fine Arts in Brussels. And a little bit about the genesis of this project. Maybe some of you are familiar with the Culture for Health initiative and notably with its advocacy report efforts through the Culture for Health report. If you use this QR code on the screen, you can have a quick access to the report produced in 2022 as a landmark for, on one hand, evidence existing in the area of culture contribution for health and well-being, but also an important set of policy recommendations at national and European level. And based on this initiative, currently there are two Creative Europe funded initiatives. One is the Culture and Health Platform, which is led by Culture Action Europe and is already involving a wider network of organizations across 13 countries, which is focused on supporting emerging artists in the area of arts and health. And CARE, which is the initiative that is hosting today's event. And Yes, as a next step, I would like to just acknowledge the existence of a number of useful tools produced in the Culture for Health report, in the Culture for Health project. On one hand, the Culture for Health report and its summary that it has been already translated in around 5 languages. It may be useful for you. A mapping of over 800 initiatives across Europe and beyond on arts and health. So you can find here projects that may inspire you on how to carry on this type of work. We have a compendium that works like a guide for practitioners on how to develop such initiatives. And together with the World Health Organization, we also produce a policy paper on how, through the arts, we can support the mental health of forcibly displaced people. And the CARE project is focused on 3 dimensions. One is capacity building for professionals working at the intersection of the cultural, health, social, and educational sector. There's a focus on social innovation through a number of prototyping initiatives um, across the countries of the partnership, and a number of advocacy and networking activities. And there are 5 main thematic focuses for our program. On one hand is youth mental health. Another focus is on culture on prescription. Another one on how festivals across Europe can involve arts to improve the well-being of their communities. There's a specific focus on the well-being of the cultural workers themselves. And finally, but not most importantly, a focus on how culture can support work-related well-being. And this is where we are today, trying to gain insights around this. And some of the initiatives, namely three of the initiatives that will be presented, are part of the initiatives developed in the CARE project by our partners in different countries. So you will learn through their presentations more about what we are delivering. So now I would like, as a next step, yes, here's a snapshot of events on the topic of culture, health, and well-being that our consortium and our extended network of organizations in the culture and health movement are organizing. So feel free to join us in any of these events. And now I would like to, just for a little bit of warm up, I would like to give the floor to Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer.
My pleasure. Good morning, everyone. We'd love to invite you to take a deep breath with us, to get centered in our bodies and relax a little as you get ready to take in all this interesting information. So if you can just feel your feet on the floor, if it's possible, feel your sit bones wherever they're sitting, maybe move them a little bit in a circle to the left and to the right, just settling into your body. And then moving upwards, you just let your shoulders go back, and you sort of feel that point at your sternum that sometimes when we sit down, we're sinking over, we just lift it. So we have open hearts. And then we've got the season of the roses. Maybe you've seen a rose recently. And we're going to imagine we have a rose in front of us, and we're going to tip our noses toward it, breathe it in deeply. And then when we breathe out, we're going to say, mmm. All right. Here we go, smelling the rose. Mmm. As long as you can. Very good. Let's do it one more time. And this time, a little smile because it smells so good and it's such a good color. One more time. Breathing in. Mmm. Wonderful. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the morning. And I give it over to Urshka. Get us going.
Hello. Yes, thank you, Jennifer, for setting us in a good mood for the rest of the meeting. I will share my screen mm, and we can continue. Okay, so what I will be talking about today is a model that we developed in Ljubljana, Slovenia. It's a model of culture-friendly enterprise certificate. The aim why we set on this path was because we wanted to bridge between the sectors and basically teach the business sector of the benefits they can bring to their working environment by involving arts and culture practices in their everyday life. And show that with the methodology, with the knowledge that our sector has, we absolutely can support companies in doing better for their employees. What was really important for us was that we didn't act as a sole initiator, but this was a model that was developed with the aim to help the creative sector, or more specifically the non-government part of contemporary arts in Slovenia. So the idea was to make a shift in perception of the sector in whole. And in order to set up the certificate, we also had to understand what skills are those that can be offered and employed in a way for benefits of the companies. And what was also part of the process was raising awareness among the actors in the arts and culture sector that we need to start this dialogue not as we are asking for help, but as equal partners in this exchange. So what we developed with the certificate was a two levels approach. First, just like to tip the toes in a bit, a cultural well-being model, which was basically just to experience and to bring maybe sometimes first time experience of arts and culture activities to the workplace, or it could be also a more strategic approach to follow different aims. So we devised a whole list of things that companies can follow, and as you see, one of them was also positive impact on health and well-being of the employees. Because this was part of the translation process to speak the language of the companies, to like start this interaction and conversation happening. And what demands we had towards the companies. So if they decide for whichever model, they have to within a year. So this certificate is being confirmed. They have a 1 year period. So within this time, they have to carry at least 3 for well-being and 4 for profession for goal-oriented approach. And we decided to share the value so that, for example, a company can say, okay, we will donate 90% of the money, and then we will make 2 small initiatives. So we wanted to make sure that these activities are distributed and they have there's different type of them. And also one of the conditions was to include at least in one activities also the employees, because it can be these activities can be targeted also to business partners, to customers, but it was crucial for us to also involve the employees. And we also developed several measures to make sure that the activities that are included are carried out by professionals. And for, of course, because we created a catalog and the network, it was also important for us for at least part of the contents to be held by the members of Associatia. So the price is calculated basically on the size of the company, which is primarily number of the employees, and it's split between the administrative fee, but the most of resources has to be put in the activities itself. So the idea is that the artists that do the interventions are being paid. So we developed a catalog of several types of the activities that can be used either for team building, for engaging employees, for giving awards, for engaging with business partners, but it can also be a form of sponsorship or donations. This is an example of how we structure the catalog. So you can see that there's a short description, but also to bring the activities closer to the companies, we included also what strategic objectives they can follow with it, and also already how they can monitor the impact of the activities that they bring to the companies. I would now like to briefly present a pilot that we did. So we did it with the intention to promote and to collect evidence so that we can concretely say, okay, we tried it and we know. And this pilot was directly aimed at impact on well-being of employees. And our goal was to see how we can reduce stress, anxiety, and depression symptoms, but also how to increase motivation, well-being, mental health in the companies. So 23 employees from 3 different companies took part in the program, and we had diverse activities. So we placed artwork in the company premises. They all attended a month-long contemporary dance workshops, and we also had creative collaborative residents. So it was like either theater, improvised music, comic book creation. So this was like a more creative aspect. So it took a bit over a month, and we tested the impact by a pre and post survey that was based on self-evaluation, and we developed 15 indicators that were a combination of indicators usually used for well-being measurements. We measured some symptoms of burnout, and we also included some general health information such as consumption of painkillers, repetitive neck and back pain, and so on. So the results were that even after a short period of 1 month, the results on the self-evaluation on 11 of 15 indicators changed. So even after such a short period, there was a positive impact of the activities. And yes, the decrease, for example, the most concrete that showed really well was a decrease in painkiller intake. Lower back pain was decreased, and there was also, in general, better, like general feeling of the participants. And also a lot, like 95% say that they would repeat the experience or perhaps even make it a regular practice. To conclude, here are some key findings. So we found it's really important that the company communicates from the beginning what's the intention of these activities, because there was a big change comparing a big difference comparing companies that did so better and some that didn't so much. Longer activities, of course, have stronger impact. It's really important to organize this type of activities within working hours, because the dropout level was higher if it was not done so. It's really important to have a neutral location, because otherwise there were a lot of interruptions when we did it in the company. And once again, yes, the importance of clearly communicating what will be done, what's the aim, and why these activities are now all of a sudden being brought to the company. So this would be all from my side. And if there were any questions later, I'm here to gladly answer to them.
Yes, let me quickly step in there. My name is Cornelia Kish from Culture Action Europe, and I'm also going to help to like moderate and keep the timing more like that in the next next hour or so. So first, I'd like to ask again to everyone: is there anybody who would like to ask a question to Ushka about this project? If yes, please kindly raise your hand with the react button that looks like a heart. Dace,
I see Dace holding her hand up.
go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Ushka, thank you for this introduction into your activity. I had one question here. I was thinking, so how you found the right companies to cooperate with? So because we did a similar thing with one another partner who is here in the room as well on creative residencies, and it was super difficult to find companies to cooperate on this specific topic. Thanks.
Yeah, for us, I think it was already the research that we did in preparation and development of the certificate, because we did the survey among the companies that already had either other types of certificates, for example, I don't know, a family-friendly certificate, or they had the experience of certification, or we managed to map that they already have some kind of, I don't know, there were some activities related to arts and culture in the company. So this was for us the starting point. And with some of those companies, they were like a partner in developing this certificate, and they were the first ones that actually obtained it. And they were then also our, testifiers in a way when we officially launched the certificate. So basically, first what we did was enter through those companies where we kind of sensed or mapped that there was already affinity towards arts and culture. And in some cases, we already also connected this practices that are already ongoing. So, for example, we had a company that had a choir, and we decided to, bring a mentor to like raise the level, bring new experience, so kind of intertwine it to make it, to kind of make it easier for the employees to jump on and adopt it. And also, what was really helpful at the beginning was that the municipality of Ljubljana supported the project. And so all public businesses of the municipalities, like so public transport, funeral service, like this garbage disposal service, pharmacies, they also joined. So this was like the first group of the companies, and then it was, snowball effect a bit. I
Yeah, that's
see a
great.
hand also by Veronica. I'm sorry,
Yes.
Cornelia, I'm just taking your role a bit.
No, it's okay. Can I go? Can you hear me?
Yeah, please,
Yes.
go.
No, I love it. So I work as artist, but also as organizational consultant for non-for-profits. And this is something like I would love to work with not-for-profits and well-being and culture somehow. But of course, the resources are very limited. But I had more question about the longer term. So what happens then? Someone gets a certificate, and
Yes,
then
they have
what?
to confirm it every year. So
Okay.
our idea was that the entry point would maybe be a well-being approach, and then to go towards the strategic, and then it's revised, like maybe it's the same goal, but also you saw the list of the aims that you can follow with the certificate is quite long. So the company might decide to 1 year go for well-being, and then go for, building the brand visibility, or commitment to the company, or whatever. So the idea is that you renew it every year.
Okay. And what is
As
next
is
for
the
you? So with the initiative, now you have kind of developed the concept, and where do you see your own work go? That's the other part of the
Where do
future.
I see?
Like what is your plan for your own work with this certificate? Or like what is
As
the
you saw, I mean, there's a lot of like this administrative fee includes basically the coordination in collaboration with usually human resource department. So what we do is we actually help them find the right provider of the service, and of course we also monitor like how they spend the money, do they do the activities, and we also have the methodology to measure things, so we can also support them in that.
Okay.
So we are kind of, monitoring in terms of are they carrying out the planned activities, but also being a support to the company.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, actually, it's very interesting. Also, with your indicators, I will be very interested to see that because, of course, talking to the business world, you definitely have to bring those messages. I also want to share with everyone a couple of data on this area, which also helps you a little bit to approach businesses if you're interested to do so, because the data is actually quite astonishing, because half of the EU workforce considers stress to be a common in workplace. And stress is contributing to almost half of the lost work days. So I think that is something that for an HR company might be or an HR human resource person at the company would be really convincing. And 1 in 6 workers experience mental health challenges. And according to a report in 2021, over half, so 52% of survey respondents reported experiencing burnout in 2021, which is up from 43% in the pre-COVID survey. And of course, what are the psychosocial risk factors in workplaces? One of them is this work-related stress, which would include work overload, time pressure, pressure to deliver, and leadership. But also there are workplace conflicts and mental health issues. And of course, you probably see in social media often that cultural activities can help these situations. But of course, if there is, let's say, a leader that is that is the problem that we cannot solve. But other things we can contribute to the solution. And by this, I'd like to give over to Bea Robine and Jennifer Davidson, who are actually doing these things through singing in companies. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Let me just share my screen. Yes. Hello, everyone, and thank you, Urška. We love your project, and I just retained the snowball effect, and this is also what we're trying to do here. So yes, we're very happy to present our project, the Serenade for the Soul, which is workshops for workplace health. And we are opera singers, Jennifer and I, with together 60+ years on stage. And when COVID hit, we started to think about ways how we could bring the transformative power of the arts in meaningful ways to people. And so we were thinking of course, using our expertise, singing and breathing. And we created our startup Artwave and became members of the NGO here in Austria, Arts for Health Austria. So how did it start out? In 2022, we created the breathing and singing program Aufatmen for long COVID. It's a German speaking sister program to the Ear, Nose, Breathe. And in the meantime, we have had over 200 participants here from Austria, Germany, and Switzerland, and we are recommended by the WHO and the Austrian Health Ministry. But when we were offering Aufatmen to companies, in conversations with HR, they asked us, yeah, but what about singing and breathing for our employees in general? And so we started to expand the concept for organizational health. And through CARE, we have now the opportunity to pilot this in a variety of workspaces.
Yes, so we started in a hospital. We've been to hospitals. We've been to public schools, primary school teachers, secondary school teachers. We've been with groups of students. At the Ban Ki-moon Center, we were working with change makers, also at the Ashoka Visionary Program. And we visited a Rotary Club here in Vienna as well. So we've had very diverse groups of people taking part in our workshop. And as Urška mentioned, the snowball effect, we're feeling now that as we get a little bit of dynamic and more people see us, we have some things coming up that are getting interesting. The Business University of Vienna invited us in the summer. Our first big corporation, Asfinag and Ostrocontrol, invited us to the Health Days. That will be in September. And then we also have other cultural partners taking our workshop in the fall, like the Corinthian Summer. This is what it looks like. We go in, we sing a little bit ourselves. That is a great icebreaker, we've found. You see the Ashoka events. This is one of the activations that we do where we have 10 minutes and we come in and just blast them with our singing, with some breathing, get the group to sing and talk about these well-being benefits. And we find that this is a great way to introduce ourselves to companies, through events. And this has led already to a couple of the things we have coming up. On the right, you see us with our groups of teachers. That's also very different kind of group. More cynical, more skeptical in the beginning, but they all got really into it. We had a great time with both of our teachers groups. Here you see the nurses on the right, on the left hand, and people working at the hospital. And we are singing with them. We're also inviting them to talk about the music that they care about. We invite them to create an emotional, personal playlist. So people get into conversations with each other about music, which is opening up a big space of connection that's been really positive in our workshop. And here you see the Rotary Club. And then, of course, we present the science. Like, what is this all doing? Why do you feel better? So we walk them through, they experience it themselves, they get to talk a little bit about it, they find out what's actually happening with this scientifically, so they sort of get the whole picture.
So about the learnings when getting into workplace health, as you mentioned also before, is data is competitive and still a leap for corporate thinking. So we found out that every group needs its own language and framing. So for example, when we go to health and healthcare and educators, we found out that care for the carers is something that really resonates with them. Now going to corporate, that doesn't work. So it has to be the singing focus. We really have to avoid that. It's more raise your voice, empower your voice, enhance your performance and the team building aspects. And in HR conversations before are really essential for the workshop to be able to serve the need of every group. And as Jennifer already mentioned, we try to get in, or another offer that we do to get in is this activation for company events. And so this gives us really the possibility to make them feel and see what it could be to do a workshop with us. And here are two examples for flyers that we have. So this is the Serenade for the Soul, and that's for the care for the carers, and Find Your Voice. This is more targeted to corporate.
I had the opportunity to be in a conference in London recently where workplace health was, and the future of work was the topic. And they talked about two trending things: adaptability and intergenerational connection. And I was fascinated because these are exactly the things that our workshop is providing. This adaptability is about being able to handle unexpected things, stretching out of your comfort zone. And that's a lot of what we do when we say to people, we're going to sing, we're going to breathe. There's a lot of comfort zone issues, and people find out they can do that it's exciting, that it makes them feel good. So that's a fantastic support for adaptability in the workplace. Intergenerational connection has been really beautiful to watch in our workshops. We have young teachers, for example, in their 20s, singing with the secretary who's about to retire, and just finding each other in a whole new way. We've been seeing that basically everywhere we go, that this really is powerful in terms of connecting this intergenerational gap. We have a lot of resistance, more than we expected, actually, of course. People are afraid to sing with their colleagues. There's some hierarchy issues, emotional hesitation, this fear of vulnerability. Again, like Urška said, it's really important to bring the science and that they understand the relevance. Yeah, and also that it goes beyond just well-being, because, at least in Austria, this is also not the big seller. They sort of want a package that's going to involve team building, performance enhancement. And fortunately, we know that when you are increasing well-being, you're also enhancing performance. So we're sort of, targeting the message, but we are doing the same thing. Exactly. Framing creativity, source of resilience, the things we've heard from Urshka, bringing the research is, and making it experiential is always the best.
Yeah, we have some wonderful feedback. We're doing now these surveys in the beginning and in the end. And yeah, we love that 100% would recommend us. We get this now. And so I'm picking out one here. I experienced my colleagues in a whole new way. So that we hear with every workshop. And I will use humming and breathing techniques with my patients. That was beautiful to see that when we were in hospital, that the nurses, they said, okay, I can use this for myself, but I can also use this for my patients. So they're wonderful feedbacks on this. And singing in stressful situations as a coping strategy, fantastic. Thank you. So yeah.
Yes, it's very rewarding work. That's been also a wonderful find for us. We really feel very fulfilled doing it.
Yeah. And we thank you. And you were open for questions.
Yeah.
Please, again, for the ones who were not there, kindly raise your hand by the react button, the heart in the Zoom, if you'd like to ask some questions to Jennifer and Bia. It was really, really wonderful. Thank you for sharing this. Dina, there you are. Go ahead, please.
Hello. Yes, wonderful project. Thank you very much for sharing. I have a question from your experience. In which type of companies this was the easiest to implement and to work and was most accepted? Is there any correlation with size of the company? Is it SMEs or really big corporations? Is it corporate culture, industry sector? Are there any kind of correlations you've seen in your experience? Thank you.
Size, of course, big matter. If you have a team of 10 people or 15 people, you can say we do that. Then if it goes in a bigger corporate world, they have a catalog. It's called betriebliche Gesundheit. I don't know how that translates here. And so they have a catalog and people need to sign up and it needs to be planned 6 months in advance. So you have to know when you yeah, so when you go in, you have to they plan the 6 months, 9 months in advance. And yeah, the easiest is to have this clear communication also, as Urshka said, and if they can feel it, they need to feel it first. So this is why these activations for us work really well, because once they feel it, they understand what it can do in 10 minutes. Oh, what could it do in 3 hours?
Yeah, and I think, as Urshka said, that's also what we've found. Companies that are concerned and interested about the well-being of their employees, that's really the most important. And then secondarily, who's already supporting culture in some way, culture that's already there somehow, making that connection to that.
And
Culture friendly.
yeah, it's very personal also. You know, you meet an HR and it's a very personal thing. There are the early adapters, even in big companies that say, yes, I want that. And of course, for us, the next step is, you know, we're doing this once. We would really love to go in 3 months again and continue that, because you see, you know, this is a one-off and they get a little workbook, actually. I mean, we try, you know, to help them out, but yeah, we'd like to come back, of course, always.
Urshka?
Yeah, it's more of a comment, because when you mentioned the intergenerational connectivity, I think I wanted to comment even before that. I think what we need to add to the list is this impact on integration and diversity in the companies, because I think arts are definitely a tool. And I've seen people that have worked for 20 years together in a company but never sat behind the same table. And also with with different I don't know, health, like chronic health conditions that people are living with, but have zero understanding from people in the collective, in the company. This was also my experience. That yeah, so this is what I and also as mentioned by Bea and Jennifer, also the snowball effect within the company. That's also something that I witnessed, that maybe because for the certificates it's more activities, it's 3 to 4 in a year, and then it's usually you see new people coming because the person in the office is sharing their positive experience, and the next time they also sign on for it. So yeah.
And if I may add, maybe it's also depending on the head. Is he singing or doing something cultural in his free time? And maybe the HR person the same. So sometimes it's really that personal.
Very personal. Yeah.
Can I just quickly add to the point that Ushka mentioned on the diversity and in integration? And also listening to your presentation made me think that there may be two other points you can add to your kind of selling proposition to the companies. If you read the Future of Work report by World Economic Forum and about the skills that are required within the next 10, 20 years, I don't remember how many. And there's a lot of soft skills which you can include, and there's the creative thinking element in there. And the second thing is as well talking about the sort of the social capital and the well-being of employees, and within that, if you link it with SDG, with the social element of SDG objectives, and then kind of frame it for the businesses on sustainability in terms of social impact, and then that may help you to approach the companies from the sustainability aspect. So that just two thoughts I had wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. This thing of the number one skill that will be needed is creativity, and that's something that we kind of also in schools are.
Yeah.
The first thing that is cut is art classes in schools, which is really worrying. And then maybe the workplace can bring this element in. Edith?
Yes, I think you talked about competition. We are in competition with a lot of other offers that are directed towards the workplace. So what I think is really necessary at this point is to have a strategic approach to sell the arts within the spectrum of sports and, I don't know, team building, whatever you have in this field of workplace. Because there is a lot of going on, and nobody understands what the arts and culture really can do. So did you experience that?
Absolutely. Yes.
And the simpler, the better. And, a lot of HR say, listen, I just want a program that is easy for me to do. They want it easy, and it should be easy for them. And I want to have an impact somehow, and even sometimes they don't even talk about impact. They talk about they need to do something as HR also, so it's but people who are really interested in the well-being of their employees and that they understand this is the future of work, there starts to be really a shift in this, that we see that we get considered and people come and look for us.
Mm-hmm.
Veronica?
Yes, I'm also a little bit like on a broader side, because I work with organizations on actually like reviewing the organizations, assessing how the organization is working together. Because I think what we want to avoid as people working on the creative side is to be used as this kind of band-aid on, fixing something. The employees are unhappy, let's give them a little program, a little project painting, so that they grumble less, or they can be, they can just be exploited in capitalism as before. So I think what is also interesting is to connect with the larger like strategy and psychology of work, and maybe just in terms of as practitioners, one type of partner could be people who work on organizational development. I mean, in Belgium, we have something called prevention advisors, like people who actually come in and are either like, I don't know, points of contact for workplace stress, or actually deal with like workplace mental health. So to kind of be able to connect to the larger picture and not just be this like otherwise you become this kind of tap dance act who's brought in for the away day for one day, and then you're like this entertainer, which is maybe also fine as long as you know it. But if you're then also, and then if they also put it on you to have an impact and make sure these people are not stressed, but then they don't want to, change the way in which the workplace operates, it becomes a little bit like this tricky, shady area of like, you actually want to be instrumentalized this way? I mean, I don't have an answer to this. It's more like a question, because I also know I was also asked to do like a 1 day stress reduction workshop with like a lawyer's office. And you're like, I'm not going to be able to reduce the stress of these lawyers, in 1 day. There is no intervention that will do that in 1 day. If you look at the research. So you're like, yeah, I think it's a bit tricky, and it's important to think about partnerships also beyond just the HR company who have their own incentives, but kind of have a more complex offering maybe.
Absolutely. These are things we are thinking about a lot. And many of our colleagues know we're also working on an app. So we're sort of building the idea that we're going to go in with a workshop and then say, and to sustain, we can help you also with our little app here. Or we invite people to follow us so they can get our newsletter, get reminders of tips. And I think, that the cool thing about the voice and work in the voice is it's also very much linked to, I mean, with all the arts, to finding self-confidence and feeling agency, self-command, self-regulation. And I think that all of that is really important, and in the long term supports the individual in whatever situation they're in, which can also be personal growth, that grows them in other ways. So that's how I'm thinking about it, but it's absolutely very complex. I totally agree.
Yes, and actually getting into the companies as we all talk about it is very difficult, and I think this is what would bring me to go to bring in Stefan Taișanu, who has been trying to do that in Romania. So Stefan, this floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. It's so good to connect with all of you and find out that all these trials and tribulations happen all around the world. Actually, we have our own. I'm gonna share my screen right now. Uh, I I hope you can see it.
Now
Yes.
you answered.
Okay. Cool. I'm not sure.
We saw it first, and now we don't see it. So share
Okay.
it again, please.
Okay. I don't know why. Sorry about that. I'll try again
Good. Now we see it.
like this. Okay. Okay. I'm Rarita's colleague in the Cluj Culture Center. I'm the executive director, and she's the program director. She's also leading our research and our entire work on culture and health, and she can back me up with all the data inside these examples that I'm gonna be showing. But I'm gonna present our perspective on the business relations, on the corporate relations, and how we are trying to push this topic in companies. In 2020, one of the pilot projects we developed was called Overcoming Burnout through Arts. And it consisted of 7 weekly interventions, art workshops on different art practices, led by one of the artists we are working with. Diana is an actress with a strong background in arts and well-being. It was a mixed interventions for 11 people with severe burnout. And at the end of it, we were able to measure how burnout decreased as you can see in the graph, and how the well-being increased. Basically, most of the people went from severe burnout to medium burnout, and some of them went to even low burnout levels. And the well-being, the perceived well-being, the subjective well-being increased a lot. Rarisa was the lead researcher here, and if needed, I will ask her to come back with some details. So these results were so inspiring and encouraging for us that we thought that this is going to land big in the companies in Cluj and Romania. On the next year, we organized a culture and well-being forum for companies. We gathered 50 companies. We present the results of this. We introduced again the topic of culture and health, and the types of impact that it can bring in companies. And we were very enthusiastic about it, very optimistic, and very sure that they will. They will be so interested and just take the project and implement it in with our support in their companies. We tried in this culture and well-being forum. We showcased this burnout intervention, and also another pilot project that we implemented with WHO and with some other international partners, called Music and Motherhood, on postpartum depression for young mothers. And then, despite the interest of all these companies and others, we failed repeatedly to land this project in any company, actually, despite several approaches that we tried. We tried to do custom projects, custom workshops for their needs. We tried to run open workshops so employees from various companies could join, and nothing worked. The reasons that we were given was basically the price. Everybody thought this is very expensive. And in some cases, companies thought that there is not a very clear, or in any case, easy way to measure the impact. So they were not very happy about the effort they need to put to actually look at the results. We had tens and tens of conversations with companies. We tried HR directors, we tried CEOs, we tried ESG, CSR people, DEI people, this trending thing in the recent years with companies working on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Many of them have frameworks, budgets dedicated to DEI, but art interventions are not usually on their agendas because, again, they are perceived as being too expensive or with a fuzzy, unclear return on investment. So we understood that at this moment in the relation with companies, culture and health and culture in general is seen as rather philanthropic than as a strategic tool, a very practical tool that you can rely on. At least in Romania, we tried Cluj and Bucharest a lot. So then we came out with a new approach that we tested this year, and it seems to be working. We took some distance. So at this moment, we are not trying to push companies to adopt art and health, culture and health practices, but we are trying to build a community for culture and business people that come together in a special series of events. Every 2 or 3 months, we meet in big cities in the country, The events are very successful because they are just focused on good conversation, refining the discourse of corporate people about culture, focusing on the intersection between the two discourses or the several discourses in business, in culture, and in the culture sector about culture. And also we focus a lot on the networking after. It's a lot of prosecco. A lot of prosecco is involved in this project as well. So after this community, we call it Cultura Face Bine in Romania. A version a way to translate it would be culture does good, but it also means culture does well. If we ever export it, we can consider calling it culture works or culture works wonders. But at the moment, after 3 events, we gathered 500 people. Everybody is invited individually, so the event is invitation only. We have 50% of the room with business people, 50% of the room with culture people. Um, we have a panel, 1 hour or 1 hour and a half panel with really insightful people, half from business, half from culture. The audience is half. And after this conversation, they just hang around and discuss for a networking event. Which is usually the best place to actually go deeper into this subject. So in this formula we already managed to get together 500 people from 100 companies and from the culture sector. We invite companies to offer support fees for community building, which they started doing. Now we reached the break-even point in organizing the events, paying the people involved in this. And with the next companies, we are ready to go to the next level. With the next support fees, we will go to the next level, which is creating a national fund from private money exclusively, a fund that we will use to offer grants for artists and cultural organizations. This is for us a very interesting way to get in touch with companies. They don't feel threatened by the elite culture discourse. They feel interested in the connection with some people doing real work, field work in culture, in the arts. It's a very smooth and cultural approach actually to build a community. And with some of these companies, we engaged in a lot deeper conversations about hosting a pilot for a company certificate in Romania, inspired by our colleagues from Slovenia. Also for different artistic presence in the companies. And also we have some conversation with major donors interested in contributing with hundreds of thousands of euro. They say now we're trying to put this together. So with this, with Cultura Face Bine or Culture Does Good, we are trying to get business and culture together because we say both worlds want to change the world or make it a better place. That's from Michael Jackson, you know. And we think that together it's obvious that they can make this happen faster. So our key learning point or key lesson that we had after these years of trying to push culture and health to companies is that we don't have to push it, but on the contrary, we have to make the conversation broader, open open the conversation and basically try on one hand to make their horizons bigger, make their understanding, help them understand what we are doing, why is this culture relevant in workplaces, and also we are trying to shape our own horizons by understanding better why companies act the way they act and make decisions the way they're making decisions. I'm very optimistic again, and this autumn we're gonna start working on the national fund from private money and on the pilot for a certificate.
Thank you so much, Stefan. I think I have to soon cut you short now because we are 10 minutes over time. I'm so sorry for
Yeah,
that.
I'm done.
We can have one more question, maybe. Or if not, it would be a wonderful flow over to. No, Madeline is asking. Okay, so come on in, Madeline. Madlena.
Hi. So I'm kind of speaking in the capacity as an artist who's part of a collective that works in mental health, as well as an employee. And I've worked with various organizations. And my comment would be that, in my experience, the most likely reason that employees are experiencing burnout and stress are either because of toxic leadership within their organization or because they're freelance and in very precarious working circumstances where there's no care in place. And in both of those situations, programs that are working with the employers won't support them because they can't access them. Like toxic leadership isn't going to bring in programs that is caring for their employees, and freelancers don't have employers. So in that way, do you have any programs or would it be possible to offer programs that are like supporting people independently of companies and their employers?
We are doing, we opened a few training courses for culture practitioners, for teachers, for whoever wants to, to work in the field. We had some other pilots that I'm not going to bring up at this moment. Some other pilots, like in dance and in some other art practices, open for the people. But yeah, it was an obvious conclusion for us as well. It's very complicated to hope that the decision makers in companies will make this decision without being pushed or being asked for it by the people themselves, by the employees themselves. With this new approach, with building a community for people that are working in culture and people that are working in businesses, this is actually the way we open the conversation to everybody. We started this year, and it looks very well at the moment. We hope that we are raising awareness and raising a small army of people interested in the subject.
I see so many hands now. We can go ahead and ask these questions, but I'm just saying that you might have 5 minutes in the breakout rooms to discuss. And if people are okay with that, then we can go ahead. Oh, Dina.
Yeah, very quickly, I wanted to ask, what topics are you talking about? What discussions take place in this forum? And why do you think it makes a difference that these companies suddenly they're more willing to donate you money, but are still kind of hesitant as to involve their own employees and live the experience themselves?
It's the company's employees that are part of these meetings. But to answer your question, we only have one large question to answer every time. And the question is, what is culture good for? And then, of course, the dialogues take the shape of the speakers in the panel, and we drive the conversation by curating the invitations for the panelists.
Maya, very last question.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just have a question for all of you. I am self-employed in culture in Slovenia, and I have noted increasingly that a lot of cultural workers are now being under threat of of a high burnout. Do your programs offer anything for them, or are you just focused on companies? Of course, this is like perhaps for later.
A wonderful go over to our next panelist,
Oh.
who is Heather O'Donnell. But actually, also, I can confirm from in the name of Stefan that yes, they are working on that as well. But let's go over to Heather O'Donnell, who is working actually with artists on work-related well-being. Thank you for
so much. I am so impressed by what I've heard so much today, and I think there's such a need to discuss, and I don't want to I think we need to do our breakout room. So I'm going to try to go quickly. But yes, I am working with artists, and I'm working with cultural workers to make sure caring for the carers, as we heard from Bea and Jennifer, to make sure that they stay healthy. I think there's so many points raised today where it's quite clear that cultural workers and artists also need care. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, share. And go into presentation mode. Okay, so I'm Heather O'Donnell. I'm a psychologist. I'm an artistic systemic therapist. I'm the founding director of the Green Room, and I'm also a former pianist. I was a pianist for 15 years, a professional pianist. And I work in my center to help artists and cultural workers with the sustainable work, how to keep going in a very precarious field. I really learned through my work as an artist, through a pianist, how difficult a sustainable career can be. So this is really fueling my work as well as my studies and my research in psychology. So in 2020, I founded the Green Room, and the Green Room is a space for artists. When I was in the last stages of my career as an artist, I noticed that there was a void. I live here in Germany. My center is in Cologne. We have a good healthcare system. You can see the doctors, you can see the therapists that you need to see in order to help you. But what was really lacking in this stage, this very difficult stage of my career, was a space and an openness. So I decided, after my transition into psychology, I decided to open this space so that artists had a place to go to talk about difficult things, to share with each other, to reflect together. We do this through different modes. We have individual counseling and coaching. We have classes and workshops. We have artist residency programs for refugee and dissident artists. And then one thing I really want to mention, which has been raised today, is that we do a lot of advocacy work because this is a new structure and a lot of people don't get it, especially the money givers. They don't get why it's necessary. So there needs to be a lot of work in explaining and explaining again and explaining again why this work is so important to keep this very, very, very important segment of society healthy. I really believe that artists are a warning signal about how societal health is doing, because, as you know, artistic professions are built on high pressure, low predictability, precarity, constant performance and evaluation. They have very few boundaries and very limited resources. So I believe that artists are on the front lines of when care structures are starting to shift. And like other vulnerable communities, artist communities are very heavily impacted when there are cuts to support. So part of my work is as a researcher. Some of it is practical, working with clients, working with artists and cultural workers. But the research part I want to bring to you today, and that's in my research on resilience. This is going to be our keyword right now. If you're curious, and I'm going to put it in the chat later, there's two versions of this study. One is what I call the wonky version. It's like the full academic version, and one is the fun version. So you can choose which one is appropriate for you right now. But I want to take a moment now before telling you from my side what I believe resilience is. I want you, if you have a piece of paper nearby, if you want to write on your computer, if you want to just write down, what is resilience? What does it mean to you? How do you know if you or somebody in your vicinity is resilient? What is it? Gonna take 20 seconds or so for that. So you've got a few ideas on paper. Sorry to squeeze it so much. But I want to speak now as a psychologist. Resilience is so hard to define and to identify. Why is that? It's because resilience only shows up when there's a hardship, and then people react with resilience. So it's not constantly present, it's very elusive, and it only shows up after hardship is present. But the simplest definition that we can come up with is that it's the extent to which a person recovers from a challenge or a hardship. And there are some really, really interesting studies. There was one, I don't know if everybody remembers Hurricane Katrina in 2005, New Orleans. It hit the artist community, the musicians, really hard because there are wonderful artists in New Orleans, and very often they don't have a lot of social supports. So they found in this study that there were protective factors that helped resilience, and these were the ability to enjoy absorption states. We call that flow, the ability to experience flow, the enjoyment of the social aspects of their art making, a network of social supports, and a reliance on family and friends for supports. So these were some of the things that we found contributed to resilience. And it looks very different in different contexts. I want to state that resilience can be as simple as for a very depressed person getting out of bed in the morning. This can be an act of resilience. Sometimes I think in our kind of pop psychology world, we put a lot of weight on people to pull themselves up. And I really don't want to put extra weight on people who are experiencing difficult things by saying you should do this and you should be that, you should feel that, you should experience this. So resilience can be a lot of different things. We're going to do a little exercise now. Aspects of resilience. I hope you have your piece of paper with you. In my study from 2020, and this was interviewing musicians that were going through the first wave of Corona. So for musicians, their lives fell apart, especially for freelance musicians. Within a couple of weeks, they lost all of their employment, a lot of them. And they were kind of in a difficult stage, if I put it lightly. So this was what the research was about at that point. And there are 8 aspects that I want to talk about very, very briefly. And I want you on your paper to kind of put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like we have here, and then a minus for I have none of this, and a plus for, oh, I have so much of this, I might even have too much of this. Okay, so you're going to make a spectrum for yourself because each of these factors exists on a spectrum. You can be somewhere in the middle, you can be somewhere towards the bottom, somewhere towards the top. So I want you to evaluate yourself very quickly. Okay, first trait of resilience that we found in this study, that I found in this study, is emotional awareness and regulation. And this is the ability to acknowledge difficult emotions without being overwhelmed by them. It includes learning, and very often learning in adulthood, how to name, observe, and sit with difficult emotions that may have been ignored or suppressed in earlier life. So where are you on the first spectrum of emotional awareness and regulation? Second one is flexibility. And I think we all kind of know that rigid black and white thinking is really not so helpful. Resilience involves the capacity to adapt to situations as they occur. And I want to make sure that it's clear that there can be too much of this flexibility. If somebody is always adapting and never having a sense of what they can bring into this, they may have some boundary issues. So where are you on the flexibility? Do you have too little flexibility in your life and work, or are you too flexible, always bending, always giving in to the needs of those around you? That's something for you to identify. The third one is grit, and grit is maybe not a familiar word for a lot of people. It's really like the sand you put under the tires when it's snowy and icy on the road. So that's what grit is. And if you translate that to a psychological trait, it's a quiet and persistent decision to begin again, to always keep going despite failures, despite rejections. So as I said before, grit can be very, very helpful, and grit can sometimes be too much. Some people are so invested in this work that they never step back and say, okay, I'm going to just take a break right now. So are you having too little grit in your life? Are you having too much grit in your life? Fourth one, cognitive focus and discipline. So structure acts as a kind of psychological scaffolding. Routines, however small, however they function in your life, they can be very grounding, especially in times of uncertainty. So do you have a lot of cognitive focus and discipline, or do you have maybe too much? The next two I'm going to kind of group, gratitude and optimism. We hear a lot about gratitude journals, make sure that you're feeling thankful for things. And I always hear this with a little bit of like, one can be too much in this gratitude camp. It can be a double burden, but it really does help to be able to look at a certain situation without gaslighting oneself and cultivate a sense of what's good, what's going well, what's okay, and then write it down. So how much gratitude do you have in your life right now? Do you have too little? Do you have too much? If that's possible. And the same for optimism. It can be so helpful in difficult times. Very often people signal optimism in group contexts, and that means that people who are not feeling so optimistic feel a little bit of a double burden again. They feel, oh God, I don't feel optimistic, and I'm feeling like everybody around me is suggesting that I should be optimistic. So yeah, that's another one where it can be too little and too much. I want to stress 7 and 8 because when we talk about these traits, we're really talking about individual things, and resilience is not necessarily an individual burden. So when somebody has enough societal supports, when they have enough social supports, they tend to be more resilient. So I really want to take the weight away from an individual burden of increasing resilience to what are your social supports? What are your societal supports? And social supports, they could also be too little, of course, for most of us, but also too much could mean that you're, not making your own decisions. You're not able to function on your own. You have too much support, if anybody can imagine that. Okay, so a couple takeaways before we go off into the groups together. Just some suggestions from me. I don't want to make this like hard and fast rules, but normalize feelings in cultural in organizational contexts. Too often, emotional realness is misread as a weakness, especially in high-performing fields. So honest feeling is really not a flaw. And when we express that, we're doing good for our organizations. What this might look like, you allow time in your organization for check-ins. You reframe emotional expression as information and not disruption. And you encourage self-awareness. Second one is to redefine resilience. And it's not just about bouncing back.
Really, just three or one sentence of each of the points, please. Because really...
Okay, sure. So I'm probably just going to redefine resilience to have a wider scope of what resilience actually is. It's not a personal burden. It's more of a care for each other, care within institutions and organizations, flow opportunities, creating relational safety, and investing in boundaries. These are the takeaways that I'd like to offer you today. And let's go into the breakout rooms.
Thank you so much, Heather. I think it was still definitely needed, and it's so good how we all can reflect on our personal situations through these tools. And somebody actually asked to put the link to the chat if of your research. That would be very helpful. So now I'm going to share my screen to show you what we would have done, but more about, we are going to go to breakout rooms just really to have a feeling of everybody, also what you've been experiencing, and yeah, let's just share with each other what you do in this specific field, or if you're why you're interested and why you're here, and we can discuss pitfalls or advice to each other. We will have our speakers in the breakout rooms. So I ask now dear Marie to put us in the breakout room.